Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out Absolute Green Arrow issue 2, written by Pornsak Pichetshote, art by Rafael Albuquerque, colors by Marcelo Maiolo, and letters by Jeff Powell. Dinah Lance's investigation takes a real weird turn as the Green Arrow killer has caught Dinah, pinning her to a wall with his arrows, as he asks her if she is tired of watching the rich profit from stepping on those beneath them. He offers her a place at his side, but Dinah refuses, calling the killer depraved. Interestingly, Green Arrow removes his mask and reveals he actually is Oliver Queen, who tells Dinah that he is the hero in this story. Dinah knows that the man is dead, and the kind of obvious twist happens where this is all just some sick dream in Dinah's head. Oliver's face transforms into one covered in eyes, much like the boy Dinah found in Oliver's bunker, and Dinah is jolted awake in a cold sweat. Framing Green Arrow of all characters as this kind of dark, almost kind of cosmic horror thing haunting Dinah is such a great idea, since even before all of this Green Arrow stuff Dinah found out last issue, with the bunker and all of that sort of stuff, she was already dealing with some of the trauma stemming from Oliver, who died. So now having that added layer of the fear of what he might have done behind closed doors is so good. It's making her start to doubt whether she actually knew this man all along, and hey, maybe he actually is somehow back from the dead and killing all of these rich people. Thanks to the intensity of the nightmare, Dinah's nosebleeds and migraines trigger, something that she is aware have been happening since childhood but have been getting worse lately. She thinks about how things have gotten worse because of the dead kid she found in Oliver's bunker, and how both Jubal Slade and Reese Tyler were killed by literal green arrows from the killer. Dinah also remembers Hector Hammond admitting to knowing who killed Oliver before he got his arm cut off. It makes her think that there has to be a sane reason for all of this, like it's some type of revenge or something, but she also thinks maybe, just maybe, Oliver wasn't the man she knew all those years ago after all. So an Oliver Queen who maybe might have been the lesser of two evils on the Absolute Universe is an interesting take, since more often than not, he's, staunchly anti-capitalist. He hates other billionaires, hates what they do with their money, and he tries his best to try and combat that both as Green Arrow and as Oliver Queen. But the idea of him being one of the many billionaires on this world who's all about the money, but he's the only one not involved in the weird Jack Grimm, Epstein level Illuminati stuff we've been seeing through this book and through Absolute Batman is certainly a take I'm looking forward to dissecting. Just like when Jubal was killed, the various news outlets begin covering the slew of new deaths at the hands of the Green Arrow, with the news also now covering Slade's various sex trafficking allegations alongside Reese Tyler's role in the opioid epidemic sweeping the nation. Green Arrow graffiti also starts popping up all over buildings of the rich people groups want the killer to target next. While the news covers the killings, Dinah gets to work. It's something that she hates since she is now working for Hector Hammond still, but with no real leads to follow herself, she has no choice but to work for Hector, since it's the only way she's going to find this killer. Dinah is given a special uniform by Malcolm Merlyn to wear that will protect her from all sorts of gunfire and even arrows. Her costume is a little bit of a tactical take on a classic Black Canary costume. It's got the black and it's got the yellowish, orangish trim around the edges. I don't expect we're going to be seeing, the stockings in this universe. It's just not something that would fit the vibe of this universe. Maybe, once we might see it, but I doubt it'll be like her actual costume that we usually see Black Canary in. Dinah and Malcolm begin tracking down the list of suspects that they made up in the last issue, with Roy Harper being the top of that list. Dinah knows that everyone on the list was close to Oliver, which makes her believe that Hammond thinks this is all being motivated by revenge for Oliver's death. The duo find Roy has been out of the country for months, meaning they have to hit up the next person on their list. Malcolm tries to talk with Dinah about their job, knowing that she did a good job protecting the others the other day, but Dinah drowns his voice out with her own mind, hating that she is working for Hammond and has been saddled with his lackey. So this take on Malcolm Merlyn definitely feels lacking right now, but I think that's the point. He's some rich dude's heavy hitter. He doesn't have much of a personality since he's always on the job and his life is about the job. He doesn't have time for a personality or, a character growth. And I'd love for something like that to actually happen throughout this, but I do like the idea that it contrasts really nicely with Diana, who very clearly is her own person and has her own thoughts. And Malcolm is just kind of that dead-eyed employee who's just, he's in too deep. If he leaves, he'll probably get killed. So he's just kind of got to suck it up and deal with it. So he's, a nothing character at the moment, which fits him really well here. Kinda tells you what working for a billionaire sex weirdo does to you. Next on their list is Mia Dearden, who is sparring in her local gym. Diana is familiar with the woman, knowing Mia grew up in foster homes before discovering her affinity with computers. Mia wipes the floor with her opponent, angered since her trainer said that this guy could keep up with her. Diana and Malcolm try and talk with her, but Mia waves them off, having told the cops that she isn't some arrow killer. Taking note of Diana and her large frame, Mia decides she will talk with Diana, but only if she gets in the ring and spars with her, since it's the only place she'll talk. Mia begins sparring with Diana and tells her that 6 years ago she was in school and she was bitching about the Green Arrow online. That is until Oliver Queen contacted her and actually gave her a job, but also a home. This is until Mia found out about what Jubal Slade was up to in his spare time, confronting Oliver about it, but he didn't think his business partner was capable of anything like that. Mia gives Oliver an ultimatum: either he fires Jubal for what he has done or she leaves the company. Oliver, not seeing what the guy he's known for years doing right under his nose, is probably the most unbelievable thing here. I don't know, I'm of two minds of it. Of course I get he's, Oliver's friend and he never saw this guy in that sort of light, that all these documents and all this stuff, the Epstein stuff that's been outed about the guy, he never saw any of that, and I can understand that. But then there's also, it's kind of unbelievable that he never did see any of that. Oliver's smart guy, you'd think he would be able to cotton on to that pretty quickly. Hell, maybe there's a twist and Oliver was just turning a blind eye to it since, as I said before, maybe he's trying to do some good in the world, and doing things like this, doing really shady stuff, is the only way he's found he could get a foot in the door before he could start making some real change. It's like those lesser of two evils sorts of things where he's just kind of got to suck it up, and he hates he had to do that, and maybe that led to him snapping and then eventually led to his death at the hands of Hawkman. Either way, it does not really paint a flattering picture for Oliver. Oliver relents and tells Mia that he'll talk with Jubal, but all the attention is on him at the moment, not Jubal, even though Oliver feels like he's just some glorified salesman and maybe he was too busy selling the company that he wasn't paying attention to Jubal. He promises to talk to the man, but he won't give up on him, hoping that thanks to Mia's history in and out of foster homes, she understands what he's trying to do. Mia tells Diana that no matter what, Oliver only saw Jubal as the underdog, the nerdy guy who tutored him in college, and the underdog is someone Oliver was never going to give up on. Because of what Oliver did, Mia decided to quit the company, and Green Arrows went on to become a huge success the year later. Mia kicks Diana down in the ring, but the woman doesn't believe that Mia saw Oliver 6 years ago. She's seen him since, as her phone logs show that she's been talking with Oliver on a regular basis before his death. Mia dodges the question by telling Diana that billionaires' wealth is up 88% in the last 4 years, while homelessness has doubled in that time in America. Diana isn't sure what she's getting at, and she is sure Diana and her thugs will find some immigrant to pin this all on, which makes Diana realize that Mia is very much a friend of Oliver's. Tiring of the games, Diana unleashes a flurry of punches onto Mia, who tells her that the whole point of this is that she isn't a killer, but maybe a Robin Hood who is less Errol Flynn and more like Michael Myers isn't such a bad thing, especially when the people like Diana are doing dirty work for the corrupt. So this is kind of the best that Mia did and has been written in a very long time, mainly because the writer actually remembered she existed. It feels like she goes in and out of continuity, or if a writer really wants to write them, brings them in. Kevin Smith obviously made the character. He's used her quite a bit, and she's been on and off again ever since he created her in the early 2000s. So I like that Pacheco has brought her in and has actually just, it's kind of picking up where she left off more or less. She feels like the Mia that I know Kevin Smith Smith was right. Dinah hits back, knowing that Mia isn't doing anything to actually stop any of these billionaires she talks about. She's just reposting things on the internet and ignoring that everything is owned by the same 5 billionaires. I really like that line since it finally makes Malcolm perk up. He can't let them begin to target his boss. He tries to get Dinah to get back on topic and try and get the information they need, and I like that he can't let anyone focus on the rich people or like dig too much into like what they're up to. He's got to, focus it on the killer, because the killer's the real problem here. He's killing off all these rich folk. The find soon ends as Mia asks Dinah what she has to do for her bonus, and if grooming 15-year-olds for Slade and the other billionaires is what she does. Dinah becomes enraged, slamming Mia hard into the mat before offering her a hand, telling her that a murderer is on the loose, and when he hurts someone innocent, and he will eventually hurt someone innocent, how could Mia sleep knowing that she could have helped stop it? Mia bats Dinah's hand away, revealing that Oliver was worried since he had a son he hadn't seen in 15 years and wanted to help make sure that he was set up in case anything happened to him. Malcolm doesn't like the fact that Oliver Queen had a kid, leaving the area to tell his men to try and dig up who this person is, while also continue running down their list of suspects. Dinah, however, knows who Oliver is speaking of, knowing all about Connor Hawke, figuring that she is the only one who knows about him. Connor actually already being here, grown, being part of Oliver's life in some small way is really surprising. I really like how Pichetchote has been incorporating all of this Green Arrow mythos and lore into the story so far. And we're only 2 issues in, since as well we're kind of jumping into the story kind of midway through everything. All of the different suspects like Mia, Connor, Roy, they also each represent one of or part of Oliver. Since we don't have an Oliver, we're still getting him in the spirit thanks to the inclusion of all these different people from his life and how he influenced their life and how he changed them. And we saw that like right here with Mia, who wants to do the right thing, and that right thing is, killing billionaires, distributing the wealth and all the stuff that Oliver was spouting out before he died. While not investigating the suspects on the list, Dinah begins tracking Connor on her own, remembering how Oliver thought of abandoning Connor as his greatest regret in life. Following Connor, she finds that he's renting in Star City, and she follows him to an old abandoned mansion, intending on helping out the last living thing Oliver tried to protect. Connor ends up catching Dinah off guard, brandishing a gun in her face, but she easily disarms him, telling the boy that Oliver talked about him all the time, and his biggest regret was losing touch with him and his mother. Connor doesn't believe Dinah, but she tells him that when Oliver died, he was looking for Connor, and he might have been what killed him. Connor reveals that the first time he heard from his so-called father was from a video explaining all of the things that Dinah is talking about, and all he wants to do is collect his inheritance and quietly leave Star City so Oliver's enemies don't catch wind of him. The boy also reveals that he's sick of it all and just wants to disappear and doesn't care what the hell Miraclo is or why Mia Dearden is obsessed with it. So Miraclo being mentioned here is very interesting, since that's a big tie to the JSA, specifically Our Man, who used the drug to get his powers for 1 hour a day. Connor also mentioned that Mia was obsessed with Miraclo, so I wonder if she was trying to get her hands on some of it so she would have a fighting chance against, whatever she was dealing with. Maybe this is how the Green Arrow we've seen, the killer is actually operating. Maybe they actually have Miraclo in their system, and that's how they're able to, survive all of this stuff and be good at what they are doing. Maybe it's, some sort of different drug in the Absolute Universe. Maybe it does something completely different. Who knows? I'm intrigued with the JSA connections just because the JSA were all killed by Hawkman, or he turned them over to the government during the McCarthy era. So maybe the drug was then developed as like a super soldier serum or something. There's a wealth of possibilities here of like where the story could go. So I'm intrigued to see where Pichetchote is going to actually take that. Before Dinah can get any more answers, they hear a scream, finding a man strung up and killed by green arrows in the next room. Dinah spots the green arrow and Connor opens fire on him, hitting him in the chest with his gun, but the armor the man wears stops the bullets. Connor keeps firing, wanting to blow a hole right through the killer, but Green Arrow bounces an arrow around the room, hitting Connor in the back with it. Thanks to whatever poison is on the arrow tip, Connor dies almost immediately as the killer tells Dinah that Connor was trying to kill him, and if she truly knew what Hammond was planning next and how depraved it was, she would agree that they have lost the luxury to turn the other cheek. So Connor dying right away, I didn't see coming. I could not have called that. I didn't think that was going to be happening. It kind of really throws me off of where I thought this was going to go, where Connor was maybe going to stick around, Dinah was going to protect him, maybe they were going to partner up or something. I think this also kind of confirms that the Arrow Killer is not Oliver, or if it is, he's completely lost. He's not Oliver Queen anymore. He's the Green Arrow. Makes me wonder if maybe they're taking a play from certain slasher films where, hey, it's not just one slasher, it's multiple slashers, and maybe there's multiple people acting as the Green Arrow. Like, maybe it is this entire suspects list, maybe it is Mia Dearden, maybe it is Roy Harper and all of these guys, and they each take turns and they're like covering for the other person by appearing when, they've just seen Mia over here and they're here now. Maybe it's something like that. But killing Connor off kind of just throws everything I thought was going to happen in this book off, and I'm intrigued to see where shit's going to take it now, because I just did not expect that at all. The killer manages to escape, and in the aftermath, Dinah goes over what the killer said, believing the killer didn't realize that it murdered Oliver's son. She wonders what Hammond is actually planning now, and what brought Connor to this abandoned mansion in the first place. The cops reveal the dead man that Dinah found in the mansion was Edvin Zeidel, another rich guy who had bought the place not too long ago, and he and his bodyguards were found all throughout the house dead. Dinah decides to go on the offensive this time, wanting to dig around into what Hammond is up to as Malcolm calls her, telling her that Roy Harper was in Star City after all. He wasn't out of the country, and on top of that, he was digging up Oliver Queen's grave for some reason. So the plot thickens even more. Oliver's corpse is going to be missing, I presume. I guess maybe this is also some sort of cover, like I said before, maybe it's like a multi-slasher sort of thing where there's multiple people posing as the Green Arrow to throw the scent off all of these other people, and this is just another of those connections where, oh, Roy was actually over here, oh, this was happening. I'm intrigued to see what Roy's going to be like in this series, because obviously he had connections to Oliver, and I have to wonder if it's definitely going to dive into the whole drug addiction sort of thing he had when he was a young guy. So maybe without Oliver, he's, sprang back into using drugs or something. Maybe he was part of Jubal's little cadre of people that he was hanging out with. Who knows? I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do with Roy, because there's a wealth of possibilities you can go with this character, and usually he has that character there of Oliver to sort of rein him in and help ground him in reality. But without that, what does Roy Harper become? The book is doing a good job of setting up all of these mysteries. I love that it's spending an issue with some of these plots, and then you get a resolution to some of them, and then they get put on the back burner, and then you get something new to go into the next issue, like at the end here with Roy turning up and who this weird dead guy in this abandoned mansion was. That's something new to carry on over into the next issue. It's a great way to make the book not feel overstuffed with plot lines, and it keeps things moving at a nice pace. Absolute Green Arrow issue 2 deepened the mysteries surrounding the Green Arrow Killer in some fantastic new revelations and reveals from some of the people closest to Oliver Queen. I love that we don't know if Oliver was actually a good guy or just another billionaire in the Absolute Universe, a world where everyone seems to be evil and out for themselves. The things Pichette has shown us regarding Oliver's troubled past definitely hints at something not really being right with him, and maybe he's hiding something, and then also getting to explore that through Dinah, a person who thought she knew who Oliver Queen was, both intimately and just in general, and just finding that might actually be a lie. It's kind of, breaking her mind a little bit in terms of oh, maybe I don't know everything about this guy. And the realization of what this world is to her has been really interesting over the last 2 issues, and I'm intrigued to see more of it and more of Dinah finding out about the skeletons in Oliver Queen's closet. I'm going to give this issue a 9.5 out of 10.